Hello everyone, this is part 15 of What If Naruto Was in the 7 Ninja Swordsman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist. To see more, comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Elder brother. A decade. He had longed for that voice for that many years and was surprised to experience the surreal moment before him as he watched his half-sibling stand before him. Tall and strong, just as he remembered. It made him remember all the years he spent in loneliness when he lost the boy in front of him alongside his former comrades and friends. The war was over by the time he had recovered from his injuries. There was no place left for a super soldier like him in the society anymore. Their own people shunned him when he falsely accepted leading the Spartans to their deaths in a covert operation, never revealing the details of what went down in reality in order to protect the future of their nation by protecting their leadership who honored that by looking after the loved ones of the fallen Spartans, albeit at the cost of ostracizing the last Spartan believed to be left alive. He lost his purpose, just a broken tool of no use to anyone until the Azuki gave him one final and mission. One which he accepted as he wanted to as there was no one left who cared about him, no one who loved him. He was unnecessary, and felt that way until he found Ino who filled that void in his broken heart. And now he had to again face the ones he had lost. But it also gave him a chance he never thought he would ever get. I am truly sorry, brother. For everything, he said sincerely, and meant it with all his heart as the dreams they once shared all those years ago flashed through his heart once more. Did the village truly do that to you, elder brother? Asked Nagato sadly, and clenched his fist when he saw the shocked expression in his sibling's eyes. How do you know? Asked Naruto in shock. Only the elders and the Azuki apart from the leaders of Konoha and Kumogakur knew the truth and none of them had ever said anything to protect their own interests. The ones who resurrected me told me. I know everything that has happened, admitted Nagato. Nagato, I wanted them to treat you for the hero you were, for our comrades to be recognized for their and they betrayed us all. Betrayed our memories. Tobirama took a step back when the redhead unleashed a monstrous intent and the glare he gave to the Hokage could have melted lesser shinobi. Madara was right, this shinobi system is broken. Nothing has changed, even now young children are dying in a new war just like we did. Even now nations dishonor their fallen soldiers. Even now mankind is embroiled in conflicts that continue to extend this endless cycle of pain and violence. We gave our lives to stop that cycle, said Nagato furiously. If you know it all, then you also understand that Madara was the one who started the great ninja wars, pointed Tobirama, earning a fierce glare and a nod from the redhead Uzumaki in front of him. He was a catalyst, yes. But you cannot deny sooner or later someone else would have started those conflicts for their own interests. Your brother Hashirama sowed those seeds by distributing the Biju among nations, essentially giving power-hungry rulers the means to further pursue their agendas and overestimate their own strength, countered Nagato bitterly. If it's any consolation, I warned him not to do it, said Tobirama sincerely, earning a scoff from the redhead. Tell that to the The Hokage lowered his gaze, unable to match the righteous eyes of a person who lost everything including his own life because of that mistake. What are you saying, brother? Asked Naruto hesitantly, a pit forming in his stomach which was further deepened when the redhead looked at him coldly. Hand over the Hokage, elder brother. We'll avoid further stated Nagato seriously. You joined Madara? Asked Naruto in shock. He offered to bring us back to life. All of us, said Nagato honestly, as he pointed at the Spartans all around them. Tobirama sharply looked at his son and watched the color drain from his face. You're lying. What reason do I have to lie, Hokage? I'm already gave my life for a nation that destroyed my dear brother and disrespected the legacy of my men in order to cover their own cowardice. Broke my last family to such an extent that he nearly took his own life, and when he was completely broken, they used him again for another mission and sent him to Kirigakura, effectively concealing their crimes forever. Maybe you're right and there is no way to bring us back to life, but if there is and Madara can do it, then I will follow him so that I can bring my men back to life, argued Nagato fiercely. He intends to destroy Azu, Nagato, whispered Naruto sadly. The nation we loved and for never cared about us, elder brother. I can't forgive them for what they did to you and our men. Such a corrupt system needs to be destroyed so that future children do not experience what we did. If you still believe that our nation actually cared about us, then tell me honestly, why did they send Kushina to Kirigakure when she returned to Izu after UK the Lightning Daimyo? Madara told me about that. Naruto flinched as he remembered explicitly requesting his former lover to live a peaceful life in their village after the years of hardship she had endured in a hostile nation as a spy. Kushina had agreed reluctantly, only to later show up in Kirigakure on the orders of their leadership to keep an eye on him. Even her chakra had felt different. His eyes widened in horror as a disturbing possibility came to light. She tried to clear your name, brother. Tried to tell our people of the real truth about us Spartans, and the Azuki punished her for it. In order to conceal his crimes, he messed with her free will and sent her on the same mission as he sent you. Made her and you believe that she came by her own choice, when in truth it wasn't. My best friend, my brother, my men, destroyed forever for the sake of that man's desire to cling to power. I tried to accept this, but I can't, explained Nagato sadly. The sins of one man cannot be the reason for you to turn your back on your village. You swore on an oath, reminded Tobirama without mercy, unable to hide his disappointment. No nation was perfect, but treason could not be accepted under any circumstances. And we fulfilling that oath. The former Hokage had no answer to that when he looked at the young Spartans in front of him. The shinobi in him felt their pain, but the leader inside of him could understand why the Azuki did what he did. It wasn't right, but was the way of the world. It's not a surprise for you to defend that man, Tobirama. After all, you were the one who recommended the truth to be buried, said Nagato bitterly. Naruto looked at the Senju and was shocked when the man didn't meet his gaze. That's right. It was you, Tobirama, who encouraged the Azuki to hide the truth completely in order to save the honor of your dear brother. Izu was given steep reparations for that silence, and the Azuki's decision to his finest troops as pawns never came to light as well, which saved his reign. Konoha successfully negotiated a peace treaty in their favor alongside saving the reputation of their foolish leader Hashirama by never revealing the truth of how he was captured by the enemy and how many allied shinobi to save him. While Kumogakure got a saving grace with majority of their people never knowing of how brutally their armed forces and one Biju were crushed by us Spartans. My men for our nation and its allies and their were left to rot on that battlefield, their families told blatant lies, my brother made a convenient scapegoat for the crimes of allied leaders. Pointed Nagato mercilessly, unable to hide the anger he felt deep inside himself. The Hokage had the grace to remain silent, which made his own son take a step back. Nagato used that momentary slip to rush towards the Senju and was quite surprised when he had to cross swords with his own brother, who stopped his charge. Why? Asked the bewildered redhead, unable to understand as to why his brother would still defend such a man after he just told him of what the same man had done to the blonde through his actions. I can't let you or capture him, brother, answered the blonde sadly. I don't understand, whispered Nagato, earning a sad smile from his older sibling. He's my father, but Madara didn't tell you that, did he, brother? Nagato froze. He had always known that the two of them had a common mother but different fathers. That hadn't stopped either of them to consider themselves as true brothers. Their parents had never revealed who Naruto's real father was. Mother told you before she asked Nagato hesitantly, putting the clues together. Yes. It all made sense now, and if he looked closely, he could now see the similarities between the Senju and the blonde warrior. Then why did you not search for him? Asked Nagato curiously. I made a promise to her that I'd look after you. I made a promise to you that we'd fight alongside each other to defend the nation for which our parents I swore an oath as a shinobi to defend our motherland, no matter the cost. My honor was loyalty, Nagato. The redhead lowered his weapon as he watched his sibling look into his eyes with a smile on his face. Our nation doesn't deserve a hero like you, whispered the redhead sadly. No, it doesn't. It deserves more. Tobirama's eyes widened on hearing those words said with so much conviction by his own son, a resolve that also touched the boy's departed sibling, who just stared at the blonde. The village may not be perfect and have its flaws, but it is the dream for which our parents gave their lives. It is the legacy for which my beloved brother and my men themselves, a legacy that I shall protect until my last breath, no matter the cost, promised Naruto fiercely. I can't forgive them for what they did to you, brother. Or amen, it's not right, whispered Nagato. Then I'll correct that mistake since I played a part in letting it happen. The brothers looked at the Hokage, who stepped forward and couldn't help but look at his son proudly. You're right, Spartan. It was my brother's mistakes that led to such tragedy, and good shinobi-s correcting it. Loyalty towards nation is necessary, but the same nation should also honor its heroes alive and fallen, for it is their s that keeps that dream going. I'll ensure the world knows the story of the s made by your brother, yourself, your men, to defend Azu and its allies, promised Tobirama sincerely. The Azukage would never reveal the truth, denied Nagato. You leave him to me. The redhead was quite surprised on seeing the absolute determination in the Hokage's eyes. Why? He asked seriously. Because I would like my grandson to know about his valiant father and uncle, who were true heroes that s everything for their village and its allies, answered Tobirama with a smile. Nagato looked at his brother and his eyes widened in shock when he saw the blonde blush and look away. It's true, admitted Naruto shyly. The shackles of grief constricting the redhead's heart were loosened when he saw the happiness in his brother's eyes. You're truly happy, elder brother? Asked the redhead earnestly. I was in a dark place when I lost all of you, but with time I found a person who loved someone like me. I found comrades who believed in me. I got the opportunity to protect our dream, the village, and have a family of my own. And it's all thanks to you. You saved me, brother, confessed Naruto with a grateful smile. Tobirama watched a crack appear on the redhead's face, which soon started to spread, much to the blonde's surprise. What's happening? Asked the blonde worriedly. Edo Tensei is a jutsu that has a few weaknesses, one of them is. Tobirama's eyes widened when Naruto grabbed him quickly, and he felt the familiar sensation of a teleportation taking place as Nagato entered a brilliant flash of light. When they landed, the Hokage grunted and saw his son was furiously looking in the direction where his brother had eaten ashes. From the smoke, a man with familiar red eyes walked through that made Naruto take a step back and Tobirama to miss a heartbeat. For Madara, Uchiha was a warrior capable enough of instilling fear even in the most brave warriors of the shinobi world. You, spat Tobirama bitterly, earning a raised eyebrow from Madara. It's been a while, replied Madara with absolute vengeance burning in his eyes. The Uchiha was surprised when Naruto stepped in the path leading towards the Hokage and glared with absolute hatred burning in his eyes. You'll pay for what you did to my brother, promised Naruto. Madara Tajima Uchiha does not need any help to take down the likes of you and that wretched man cowering behind you. Zetsu, you tried your tricks, now let me do what we came to do, scoffed Madara. A strange plant-like creature emerged from the ground beside Uchiha and grinned before making a hand sign summoning more than 100 coffins as the Spartans were dragged inside before it disappeared completely. Naruto was pained when he saw his brother's corpse that was reforming also met the same fate. Boy, I don't know whether to admire your loyalty or curse your misfortune. You still believe that some good can come from this broken shinobi system despite being used by it again and again. You still choose to stand by your village even after your brother told you as to what they did to your fellow Spartan. It's a true shame that good men like you young for the cowards like Tobirama standing behind you, said Madara disappointedly. He smiled when Tobirama instantly got back on his feet and grabbed a kunai in each of his hands. The Hokage was unnerved when Madara gave a cold smile to the blonde in front of him. This broken system used you, your brother, your parents, your friends and comrades, even your own wife and child, said Madara with a satisfied smile. What the hell are you talking about? Asked Naruto bitterly. My words will mean nothing to you yet, boy. Go and see for yourself the real truth of this world, said Madara cryptically. Zetsu chuckled as he disappeared back into the ground and Madara saw the first silhouettes of Kirigakure shinobi approaching towards them. You will see the truth with your own eyes. Then either you'll as a hero or bring a revolution the likes of which the world will never see again. I look forward to the choice you make, Black Flash, whispered Madara with a smile. The Uchiha directly looked into the eyes of Senju Tobirama and was satisfied when he saw real fear in those eyes. No matter how much you run, the claws of truth shall always find you, Tobirama. A day of reckoning is coming, soon this world of lies and deceit shall fall. Madara vanished with a puff of smoke as the conflict happening all across the island ceased with the complete disappearance of the enemy. Naruto clenched his fist furiously and turned around to saw Haku and a group of Kiri forces charging towards him. His gaze connected with his own father and he felt something rankle deep in his heart when Tobirama looked away. Are you all right? Asked Haku as soon as she arrived. Yes. Neutralize any remaining pirates on the island and dispose there be. Leave no evidence of our presence here, we need to get the hell out of here quickly. Ordered Naruto. The enemy? She asked. They are gone. Haku quickly checked with the rest of their forces under the command of the other 7 ninja swordsmen and was surprised to find that was actually the truth. But why? She asked curiously, and flinched when Naruto glared at her furiously. Just carry out your orders. The blonde walked past a stunned Haku who quickly got out of the way as she felt the raw anger burning inside the man as he zeroed in on Tobirama. He stepped in front of the Senju and didn't relent until the man looked into his eyes. I want to see my wife and child as soon as we reach Konoha, he whispered furiously with evident in his eyes. Of course, answered Tobirama sincerely. Was that true? What Nagato said, about you being the one to bury the truth about us Spartans to save your brother's reputation? About what Izu did to Kushina despite my wishes? Asked Naruto seriously. The Azukichi couldn't let the truth become known so easily, it would destroy his reign. It would also cause severe damage to Konoha and my deceased brother's reputation, but I have every intention of making this right. You have my word, promised Tobirama earnestly. Naruto shoved past him and his words sent a chill down Tobirama's heart. I shall see the truth soon enough with my own eyes. Land of Fire. Mangetsu carefully walked through the dense forests of the Land of Fire. Even if he was surrounded by his fellow swordsmen and the rest of the 501st, he still didn't want to let his guard down for a second. Certainly not after they had lost 30 of their men in that ambush at Nagi Island 2 days ago. They had survived the conflict when the enemy had mysteriously vanished, making Mangetsu and his comrades believe that there was an ulterior motive behind the attack, one that wasn't known to them. That incident had also led to another disturbing outcome. Their once calm and reliable general had barely spoken more than a few necessary orders ever since they left Nagi Island. Even when they linked up with their escort group from Konoha led by Hiro Hyuga, the head of the prestigious clan, the blonde had merely exchanged a simple nod and a brief greeting before asking the man to hurry up in escorting them to the Leaf. All the while he had never once spoken to Tobirama and had actually gone to great lengths to maintain a distance from the Senju, whereas previously they both were on friendly terms. Something's not right, he whispered. Keep quiet. Whatever it is, the general doesn't want us to know, warned Haku, having personally witnessed some of that wrath not very long ago. We could be walking into a trap, he suggested, earning a glare from his childhood friend. Shut your conspiracy theories. Konoha needs allies just like we do, denied Haku. Treachery is a shinobi's main weapon, Haku. We are not the samurai, warned Kisame with a crooked smile. He's right. All bets are off if the tree huggers try something funny, promised Amayuri with a grin. That's more like it. My blade's been itching for some fun, said Zabuza with an evil smile, making one of the Konoha Junin to back away from the infamous swordsmen. You do remember we are here to sign a peace treaty. Not start another war. Jinpachi, making Zabuza's eyebrows twitch in annoyance and the others to chuckle. They stopped their conversation when Naruto glanced back at them, and while he didn't say anything, the look in his eye made it perfectly clear that he didn't appreciate such statements being made publicly, especially when the Konoha ninjas were nearby. The 501st was strong, but they were entering the lion's den and it was better not to poke the beast. Tobirama hesitantly glanced at his son, who solemnly walked in the front, away from everyone else in their large group. He could feel the turmoil raging deep within the boy's heart ever since the events of Nagi Island. Seeing his brother like that and learning the dark truth of the past had shaken him. The fact that Izu continued using the ones closest to him like Kushina despite his wishes in order to protect its self-interest or that of its cage had rattled his trust. He may have told Nagato that the village still mattered over anything else, but Tobirama had seen the heartbreak in those eyes. This was a man who lost his family, friends, his future and even his memory for the sake of his village's future. Only to be betrayed again and again. His son was strong and a true ninja, but there were limits to what a man could endure. It was what made the Hokage nervous. The way in which Madara seemed so interested in the boy and was so sure of the future. It was the second instance when the traitorous Uchiha leader had met Naruto in battle and handed the boy despite him choosing to oppose his plans. I'll have to ask Saru to arrange a meeting between him and Ino quickly, thought Tobirama seriously. His prized student currently serving as the third Hokage would have taken care of Tobirama's daughter-in-law and unborn grandchild without fail once Tsukumo brought her home. He remembered the night when Tsukumo Hatake, the leader of Konoha spies in Kiri, had brought in a badly wounded Ino to him. There was another spy named Mikoto Uchiha who was also there with minor injuries. Her cover had been blown and a Kiri hunter unit had went to capture her where Ino had intervened to save her life. A conflict had ensued in which Ino had sustained grievous injuries while trying to protect the younger girl. Tsukumo had ordered all spies from Konoha to abandon their posts and return to their homeland immediately for fear of Kiri discovering even one of them afterwards and what it could mean for the captive Tobirama held in the mist. Tobirama had seen how badly charred one of Ino's arms had been from the battle. They had decided to discard it and use it as evidence of her passing so that Kiri forces considered her as a martyr alongside her entire unit who perished while trying to capture an enemy spy. In that way, Naruto's cover could also be protected in the mist. She had been slipping in and out of consciousness repeatedly that night and had lost a lot of B, sometimes whispering out for Naruto in her hallucinated state. There had been traces of poison in her system courtesy of being hit by two senbon laced with poison from her unit when they discovered she had also been a Konoha spy when she tried to save Mikoto. Tsukumo and Tobirama had done the best to heal her injuries while treating the poison and Mikoto had readily given her own B which had been a match with the blonde Yamanaka's to replenish all that she had lost. Tsukumo had then taken both the Kunoikis back to Konoha by himself all the while requesting Tobirama to assure Naruto that they would do everything in their power to protect his wife and child. That was the last time he had seen that man and had only received a cryptic message during the subsequent weeks that Ino had been safely brought back to Konoha by Tsukumo and was gradually recovering. He had dutifully passed on this information to his son who was relieved immensely to learn of her safety. It had not only increased his faith in Tobirama and Konoha but also made him push the Mizukage for an alliance with the Leaf, making the Hozuki clan head relent in the end. As the silhouette of the Leaf village's main entrance drew near, the Hokage dearly hoped to forge this alliance in order to bring peace to this war-torn world. He watched Hirohyuga march forward and greet Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, who was standing at the main gate alongside all of Tobirama's other students such as Danzo Shimura, Koharu, Homura, and Tori Fuakamaiki. The absence of Kagami Uchiha among the group hit Tobirama hard as he was reminded of his students' martyrdom in this war, leaving the leadership of the Uchiha clan to his young son, Shisui, who was currently fighting on the front lines. Even so, he maintained his composure and watched Naruto look at his men. In an instant, the remaining 501st formed a guard of honor as the blonde gestured for the remaining 7 ninja swordsmen to carry out the task. They nodded dutifully at their general's command and formally gathered around Tobirama and escorted him towards his village and its new Hokage. The Namikaze warrior appeared in front of Hiruzen as well, earning a respectful nod from the young Hokage. It's a great honor to finally meet you in person, General Namikaze. We have heard quite a lot of your exploits, said Hiruzen respectfully with a friendly smile. The honor is mine, Lord Hokage. On behalf of the second Mizukage Genjutsu Hozuki, I return your former Hokage honorably to its nation as a sign of friendship between our two great nations, replied Naruto calmly with a respectful nod. He narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw a dark-haired shinobi looking at him suspiciously. Danzo, chided Koharu with a hiss, finally making the Shimura heir stop his staring. Forgive our manners, you must have been quite tired from your journey. Please allow us to extend you our hospitality, proposed Hiruzen with a friendly smile. Naruto wanted to get straight to the negotiations and more importantly wanted to meet his beloved wife, but when he looked back he only saw for the first time how tired his men were. To their credit, not a single one of them had complained when he had made them march towards the land of fire without stopping for a second. It was time he acknowledged that loyalty by doing what was right for everyone instead of his personal desires. We are in your debt, he relented with a grateful short bow. Before Hiruzen could say anything, they heard shocked gasps from the back of the Konoha group as a red-headed woman burst forward and embraced Tobirama in a fierce hug. Mito! Exclaimed Tobirama with a happy smile, as he returned the hug. Soon enough almost the entire Senju clan arrived at the main entrance of the village to greet their patriarch. In them was a beautiful teenaged blonde girl and a young boy that rushed forward and joined Mito in embracing the Senju leader who had returned to them after months of captivity. Tsunade. Nawaki. A part of Naruto's heart was saddened on seeing Tobirama bend down and lift his overjoyed grandnephew in one arm as he embraced Tsunade and Mito with the other. The sight reminding the Namikas of the family he had lost. Deciding to give the family some privacy, he was about to step to the side when Tobirama broke the embrace and looked at him. It made his family look at him for the first time. I wouldn't be here if not for him. He saved me. Naruto, I want you to meet my family, said Tobirama with an honest smile. Naruto saw Mito smile at him as she walked towards him with Tsunade and Nawaki in tow. We are in your debt, General Namikas, she thanked him sincerely. It was my duty, Lady Mito. It was also a way of expressing my gratitude for you and your people saving my life 10 years ago, said Naruto respectfully, whispering the last part loud enough only for the Senju matriarch to hear. Family, duty, honor. The Uzumaki's clan words recited by the blonde made her take a step back as she remembered the Spartan captain who had saved her deceased husband's life all those years ago. A boy they had then saved from death's doorstep. You, she whispered in shock. Mito watched in stunned silence as Naruto knelt and extended a hand towards both Tsunade and Nawaki respectively. Tobirama had told him about these two who were his niece and nephew by their parents who would have been Naruto's cousins having long since perished in the initial days of the Second Great Ninja War much to Mito's grief. Tsunade shook his hand confidently with a curious look in her eyes while Nawaki smiled shyly but did reciprocate the gesture. Let's take our meeting to a more comfortable place, suggested Hiruzen gently. Naruto nodded as he got back on his feet and saw Mito was yet to get over her shock after realizing his true identity. He idly wondered what she would think on learning the whole truth. Of all the things he had expected, a bone-crushing hug was not something Naruto had expected from Mito Uzumaki as a pleased Tobirama looked at the exchange with an embarrassed look on his usually stoic face. Your son. The gods have truly blessed us, blessed our clan, said Mito happily, as she looked at her brother-in-law. Hiruzen Sarutobi who was also present at this private meeting in the Senju manor was also left speechless by the revelation. Tsukumo had told him that Naruto was an Azu spy but not the fact that he was a lost son of Tobirama Senju. It was not something he could have predicted even in his wildest dreams. Looking at his teacher made Hiruzen guess it was perhaps done on Tobirama's instructions to protect the blonde. You have more family, Lady Mito. I have a wife from this village who worked as a fellow spy with me in Kiri. We are going to have a child together, said Naruto with a gentle smile. Mito smiled happily at that before hugging him again but his heart sank a little when he saw Hiruzen develop an uncertain look in his eyes on that revelation. He gently broke the hug and walked towards the young man and looked directly into his eyes. Where is my wife? Where is Ino? I would like to meet her, demanded Naruto. Yes, Saru. The negotiations won't start till tomorrow. We would like to meet our daughter-in-law privately at this residence tonight. Can you arrange for that? Asked Tobirama, earning an encouraging nod from Mito as well. Hiruzen looked at the three members of the Senju family and the nervous look in his eyes made Naruto take a step back. I'm truly sorry but that won't be possible, apologized Hiruzen profusely. What did you say? Asked Naruto, with barely restrained anger visible in his eyes. Hiruzen truly didn't want to be in this room when both Tobirama and Mito flanked him, their serious eyes boring into his very soul itself. Saru, this is my family we are talking about, warned Tobirama tersely. Hiruzen, we can trust Naruto. He's the Spartan captain that does everything to save Hashirama's life 10 years ago. I'll vouch for him personally, guaranteed Mito without hesitation. The third Hokage really didn't want to be in the room, but he steeled himself and looked directly at all three members of the Senju family. Ino Yamanaka never reached the leaf. She succumbed to her poisonous wounds while being evacuated from Kirigakure by Tsukumo Hatake. I'm truly sorry, she was in the line of duty. Tobirama's eyes widened in horror and Mito gasped in shock as the two of them just stared at the young Hokage in front of them who lowered his gaze after revealing that dark truth. The young Hokage found himself facing a pair of red eyes and AK intent that wanted to destroy his very existence itself. You're lying. Tsukumo sent us a message stating she was alive, yelled Naruto his hand squeezing the young Hokage's even more painfully. Naruto. He couldn't hear either of Tobirama or Mito's pleas for him to stop, his very fabric of existence lying upon the man currently in his grasp. His heart was hammering painfully in his sea, his bee was boiling, and he felt tears prickle at the corner of his eyes. The despair that he had fought his entire life, the despair Ino had helped eradicate by becoming his light, was arriving back into his soul with every passing moment. One day, the darkness inside the hidden villages will consume that lone light of yours. Just as it did mine. Tsukumo lied, she's. Truly, we had to keep this a secret in order to get Tobirama-sensei back to the leaf safely, wheezed Hiruzen in agony. He wanted to fight back, but the grip was too strong and he didn't know how his mentor and Lady Mito, who had paled horribly, now would react. Thankfully, the gods finally had mercy upon him as he was released and collapsed to the floor as Naruto sank to his knees. Ninjas are nothing but disposable tools in the eyes of their nations. There is no honor, no light, and no hope in this dark world. Tears were freely falling from his eyes as those dreaded words became reality once more. He never wanted to believe them, no matter how true they were. He had been willing to risk his own life and future to not let them become real. He barely registered Mito arriving beside him and embracing him in a fierce hug from behind, or Tobirama yanking his student back on his feet and shouting at him. All he felt was nothing but despair and unbearable pain that threatened to consume his empty heart as all the dreams he had hoped of living turned to ashes. He barely heard Hiruzen whispering of someone named Danzo recommending the leaf keep this secret until Tobirama was returned back safely. His wife was had been for months, and his unborn child would never see this world. Tobirama cursed when Naruto teleported away in the blink of an eye, making him punch his student. It was fitting. Heavy clouds had shrouded the leaf village in a cover of darkness, and soon enough a fierce torrent fell from the skies as a lone blonde was standing alone in the village's cemetery. His eyes fixated upon the grave in front of him. Ino Yamanaka. It was just her name engraved beneath the leaf symbol that served as a tombstone. There was no citation, no description of who she truly was or what she had done for the sake of her village and comrades. Just another forgotten shinobi in a cemetery full of thousands. Nobody would remember of how she risked her life for years in a hostile nation for the future of her village, of how she gave hope to a lost warrior, of how she was a true ninja who risked everything for the sake of her nation and laid down her life while trying to save a comrade. His parents, his brother, his Spartan comrades, and now his wife and child. The last truth made him tear up again, for that innocent life was lost before it even entered this world, in the endless conflict between the shinobi nations in their thirst for ever more power and influence. Not even a grave for you, my child, he whispered miserably. He sank to his knees and gingerly touched the tombstone, hoping to hear their voice, if only for a second. Silence was his answer. He had hoped so desperately for them to be safe. He would happily trade places with them if he was allowed that chance, but it would never be so. He had wanted to believe in the current shinobi system, no matter how broken or twisted it was. Anger surged inside of him like never before. A rage that consumed each and every fiber of his being. No, it wasn't anger. Hatred. His eyes turned red as he felt that hatred inside his heart. His eyes developed a slit pattern in the middle as he felt a new power arise inside of him. He grasped the soil in front of his wife's grave and gingerly twisted it in his fingers. I will destroy this world of lies. He swore with heavy tears falling from his eyes. He got up on his feet and gave one last glance at the grave of his wife and child. Now, he had nothing left to lose, nothing left to hope for. No matter how honest he was or this world was too far gone. Madara had been right. It was impossible to trust one another if you couldn't see the other's person's heart. He had given everything to Razu, to Konoha, only to be betrayed by them time and again. He can bring us back to life. His eyes widened in shock as he remembered his brother's words and wondered if there was any truth behind it. He didn't want to hope anymore after everything that had happened, but if there was a chance, he would take it for the sake of the ones he loved. He turned around and walked away from his wife's grave as he made a promise deep within his heart. A world of peace. A world of truth. I will create such a world where we can be together again. Kirigakure. Genjutsu Hozuki had been calmly sipping his coffee while sitting at the dining table of his own home deep inside the Hozuki clan's district. He looked outside and saw it was quite a gloomy weather with dark clouds hovering over the entire village, making it appear as if it was night. He looked at the picture of himself and his wife holding their only son in their arms. I hope you have reached Konoha safely, Mangetsu, prayed the proud father. He knew it was unnecessary considering his son was under the capable command of Naruto Namikaze. That boy had great potential and Genjutsu knew he would one day become a shinobi that the world would remember. That belief was the reason why he had chosen the boy as his successor over his own son. It was not to say that Mangetsu was not talented, but being a Kage required a different kind of inner strength, one which he had seen inside Naruto. Since he hadn't received any request for help from the blonde, he was assuming their mission at Nagi Island had gone well and they had successfully eliminated the pirates that had terrorized these lands, all the while enjoying the protection of their feudal lord. The sodden old man would not like it, and Genjutsu knew there could be some repercussions for the mist from such an action, but it had to be done for the sake of their nation. His eyes narrowed when a small crack developed in his family photo. He flared his sensory powers by needing chakra and was alarmed as he couldn't detect the chakra signatures of the Anbu squads guarding his residence at all times. His fears became reality when one of the Anbu stationed inside his residence tumbled down the stairs lifelessly with bone-shaped spears sticking out of his back. The front door was blasted open and he came face to face with the ones who had the audacity to launch such an attack. Naka River. Naruto solemnly sat upon a small hill near its cliff overlooking the famous Naka River of the Leaf Village. It was deep within the Uchiha clan's territory and was the reason why most shinobi didn't bother approaching here. Since most of the Uchiha were fighting on the front lines, there had been only a few novices patrolling the sector whom he had easily avoided. He had also concealed his chakra signature in order to hide himself from Tobirama, who had been chasing after him for the past couple of hours. He didn't know what the man was thinking by desiring to confront him after learning the lies told by his own students. There was also another reason as to why he had came here, and when he was sure there was no one else in the immediate vicinity he made his move. If you are there, then show yourself, Zetsu, he announced, hoping he had pronounced the strange plant-like creature's name properly, one that had used the Edo Tensei and had been Madara's accomplice at Nagi Island. He doubted Madara would dare infiltrate the Leaf, but the same couldn't be applied to his accomplice whose chakra signature was completely undetectable, as Naruto had learned himself in the past battle. He looked around and was not surprised when nobody answered his call. Still, he didn't back down and stood his ground. I have no time for games. If you are there and do not show yourself this instant, then I am out of here. His threat worked as the black plant-like creature rose from the ground right behind the blonde, much to his shock, as he hadn't even sensed its presence even when it was this close to his position. He gripped his sword in a reflex as his red eyes came alive. Your eyes have changed. Madara turned out to be right after all, said Zetsu in a mildly surprised voice. What is his goal and why is he so fixated on me? Asked Naruto seriously. He asked me to keep an eye on you ever since you left Nagi Island. That's why I followed you all this way. Hope you now know the truth of what happened to your wife and child, whispered Zetsu with a knowing smile, making the blonde clench his fists. You are only trying to use me for your own goals, said Naruto bitterly. Then why are you approaching us? Countered Zetsu curiously, which made Naruto lower his gaze. You have something that I want. If you can give me that, then I at least want to understand what it would cost me, answered Naruto truthfully. You want us to bring your loved ones back to life, confirmed Zetsu, earning a nod from the blonde. We can do that, but there will be a price for that. How? Asked Naruto suspiciously. With the Rinnegan, of course. Madara possessed the eyes that once belonged to the Sage of Six Paths. Its power goes beyond the realm of life and death, even allowing its wielder to bring the S back to life, albeit at the cost of one's life, revealed Zetsu patiently. Impossible. The Sage of Six Paths and the Rinnegan are just myths, rebuffed Naruto hotly, earning a sigh from the strange creature. Every myth originated from a reality once. The sage did exist and so did his powers. Naruto listened as Zetsu told him about the origins of chakra, of how it was stolen from a sacred fruit that grew upon a tree a long time ago. He had to control himself from laughing out loud when Zetsu mentioned that it was an Otsutsuki that had stolen that power. Kaguya had been her name. She went on to stop all fighting among humanity and became the goddess and supreme ruler of the world. She lost her way over a period of time and terrorized the very same people she had once saved from the sacred tree that had assumed the form of the Ten Tails in order to recover the power stolen from it by Kaguya. Ultimately, her own sons had to stop her madness. She was Kei in battle alongside one of her sons, while the other inherited her power and taught ninjutsu to the world in order to guide it towards a peaceful future. That man was the Sage of Six Paths, whose peaceful teachings would then be turned into ninjutsu by humanity. His end came sooner than expected, and the 10 tails he had sealed inside of him was distributed into 9-tailed beasts across the world to prevent that monster from ever reforming and destroying the world. In order to ensure humanity followed a peaceful path, the sage chose his younger son out of the two he had, one who preferred love over the older one's path of power. It led to an endless conflict that continued for centuries as the brothers and the descendants battled each other to inherit the rightful position they deemed to be theirs. You carry the Bi of both noble Bi in you. The Uchiha and Senju, your powers are unique. Madara was only able to awaken the Rinnegan when he stole Senju Hashirama's power in their final battle, and only by combining both Uchiha and Senju bloodline was that divine eye awakened once again. You are the only one who can truly inherit Madara's will and powers. Most of all, you two are a lot alike. Madara loved his family just like you loved yours. When it was destroyed, he truly sought to change the world and unite mankind by force if required so that it does not face complete annihilation when the Otsutsuki arrive to destroy our world, explained Zetsu patiently. Even if it seemed a bit far-fetched, Naruto was able to better understand as to why Madara was so interested in him. Granted, he was a veteran shinobi and capable of leading armies, but that alone hadn't been enough for the level of interest the Uchiha had favored upon him. What is his plan? He asked seriously. Zetsu looked at him skeptically for a few long moments, but he didn't back away, which made the creature relent in the end with a heavy sigh. When the sage he not only created the Biju but also distributed small essence of his chakra across the world into every living being. We want to gather all the tailed beasts and reform the 10 tails. Madara wants to become the Jinchuriki of that beast, and with its powers, he will unleash a new jutsu that will cast away the past, said Zetsu proudly. Explain, stated Naruto suspiciously. People cannot understand one another if they cannot see each other's hearts. By using the 10 tails powers and the chakra present among all living beings, Madara wants to join humanity's consciousness to him and each other. Each person would be connected to one another and be able to feel each other's emotions. All their thoughts will be linked to Madara. With such powers we can put an end to the continuous wars. Imagine, if a person wants to kill another person, each of them would be able to feel that malice, and so would Madara. It allows an opportunity to end conflicts before it ever occurs, said Zetsu. But that's the power of a god. No human should have such power, protested Naruto vehemently, earning a sinister chuckle from the creature in front of him. And what did your ideals get you except for betrayal, Naruto Namikaze? For the first time in his life, Naruto had no righteous answer. He had tried so hard his entire life to achieve peace for his loved ones. Now almost all of them were except for him, and that goal was still nothing more than a wishful dream. Azu was still not safe and had betrayed him time and again despite him everything for its future. If the fighting in the world doesn't stop, then sometimes a man has to become a god to make it stop. Just like the sage had to do it in his time to save the world. Madara and you have to do it this time, for you are the saviors of humanity. Evil shall always triumph when good men do nothing, said Zetsu solemnly. I have no real power except for my service to offer Madara. Don't assume I can ask Kiri forces to fight for your cause. They all are bound to their Mizukage, and I am not that man, replied Naruto in a vain last effort, earning another chuckle from the creature. You may think so now and will be right to keep a low profile. But the future is unpredictable, said Zetsu cryptically with a mysterious smile. What do you mean? Questioned the blonde suspiciously. He was surprised when the creature started sinking back into the earth, but its eyes were still fixated upon him. All your questions shall be answered in due time. For now continue serving Kiri. When the time comes we will ask for your help. If you answer that call, Madara has promised to bring Ino Yamanaka back to life first. If you still choose to stand against us, then we shall destroy you completely. Naruto moved forward to stop the creature, but it vanished before he could reach it. He unearthed the ground beneath his feet where it had disappeared but found nothing. He tried to sense its presence and was further infuriated when he found nothing. With a frustrated growl, he decided to move back towards the hotel where his comrades were currently lodged. There was a lot of work to be done. Mangetsu was quite surprised when he was ordered to gather the remaining swordsmen of the group and assemble them all into their general's personal quarters inside the luxurious hotel where the Hokage had provided them and the entire 501st temporary accommodations. By the time he roused the others and knocked on Naruto's doorstep, the blonde was ready for them. "How did the meeting go, General?" asked Haku curiously, earning nods from the others as the blonde had went for a personal meeting with the Hokage and the Senju clan only to return late after midnight followed by summoning them all here. Mangetsu caught a faint flicker of grief present in those eyes which was quickly replaced by an icy determination in the blonde's eyes. "As expected, I would say. They are desperate for this alliance," answered Naruto with a cunning smile. "What makes you say that?" asked Kisame seriously. "I took an unauthorized tour of the village and it is being defended by mostly Green Chunin squads under the supervision of few veteran Junin and Anbus. Their cemetery has also undergone great extension, suggesting their losses in this war are more than what Tobirama Senju proclaimed them to be. It made me seriously reconsider this alliance once again," answered Naruto, not mentioning the fact that he had learned all of that after having teleported all over the village in an effort to stay away from Tobirama, who was desperate to have words with him after what his students had done. He had also spent quite some time in the cemetery watching over his wife's grave. Both those factors gave him key insights about Konoha, something he would have probably not noticed so easily had he not learned about Ino's death. That grief was still too raw in his heart, but he couldn't afford the luxury to cry over it anymore if he truly wanted to get justice. Such treachery had cemented his belief that Konoha could not be trusted under any circumstances. He was aware that there were good people in this village, including his B family, but he could not forgive this nation for their failure to protect his wife. They knowingly put her in harm's way for their interests even when they knew she was pregnant with a child. His child. A part of him was furious with Ino as well for risking their unborn child like that, but he of all people knew how the shinobi nations loved to use the loyalty of their ninjas for their own benefits, even if it led to the destruction of those loyal soldiers. It was the death of his unborn child that fueled his newfound hatred for the Leaf Village. The same was the case with Azu for what they did to Kushina despite his wish to keep her safe. He had already lost almost everyone he cared for and couldn't allow those responsible to get away with their crimes without any punishment. He still didn't hate the people of both villages, far from it. But instead he wanted to destroy the corrupt powers ruling these nations so a new and better leadership could take its place. For that to happen, he would have to make decisions that would have appalled his older self. But that wasn't a man who had lost what Naruto had lost now. Yet he couldn't do it all alone. Looking at the other great ninja swordsmen around him made him realize he would need their support for the revolution he wanted to bring. He was still contemplating joining Madara, and a huge part behind that decision rested upon the man's ability to bring his loved ones back to life. He had still not forgotten that directly or indirectly, Madara had played a key role in all that he had lost over the years. Joining that man if ever should be out of necessity and not willingness. "What are you suggesting, Naruto?" asked Mangetsu earnestly, making the blonde give the young boy an easy smile. "We came here to secure Kirigakure's future. Kumogakure, Sunagakure and Iwagakure are Konoha's enemies with only tiny Uzushiogakure as their ally. I had assumed them to be strong, maybe they're still financially, but after my observations I'm not too confident about their military capabilities. Joining with them means putting Kiri against three great nations," warned Naruto without mincing any words. "We are already at war with Kumogakure," pointed Zabuza. "True. But that is just one nation. Knowing Iwa and Suna, they would be more than happy to let Kumo fall to us provided we don't attack them afterwards and seek a peace treaty. Those three villages have joined together in order to crush the Leaf, which was becoming too strong and ambitious. If one of them was to fall as the price for that victory, then the others wouldn't be too saddened by that loss," countered Naruto. Mangetsu and Haku were both stunned by this line of thinking from their ever-honorable leader. However, the remaining four members of the group looked quite pleased with those suggestions. "You continue to surprise me, Naruto," said Kisame with a smirk on his face. "I'm all for it. These tree huggers were too soft to begin with," agreed Zabuza with a dark chuckle. Whatever is best for our village's interests is good in my books, said Amayuri without hesitation, earning a nod from Jinpachi as well. Haku looked at Mangetsu worriedly, making her childhood friend step forward towards their leader. This alliance is the wish of our Mizukage. He gave us freedom to negotiate terms, not to disobey his orders, warned the Hozuki heir, his steely gaze boring into the blonde sitting in front of him, making the older warrior raise his hands in a peaceful gesture. I have not forgotten that, but felt it right to let my closest comrades know the truth about our new allies before the negotiations that will start in a few hours this morning. In any case, I want you guys to think about more terms we can negotiate in our favor, knowing what we do now, replied Naruto diplomatically, making sure his voice sounded nothing but patient and understanding towards the younger boy. He was relieved when Mangetsu was placated by those words and chided himself over his impatience that could have created unwanted suspicion in the heart of the Mizukage's son over his new motives. He could not afford such mistrust, at least not until he himself became Mizukage. Only then would he have true power to get his justice against all his enemies. Soon enough, the rest of the swordsmen left after discussing few more demands they could make in the upcoming negotiations. A strange silence befell in his room as the never-ending solace returned back into his life. One day, I will get justice. Please wait for that, Ino. Next day morning, Tobarama was immensely relieved to find the boy he had been looking for the past entire day. To think it was a wild guess that made him arrive at the cemetery of the village early morning. He had contemplated sending the Anbu to locate the blonde but gave up on that idea when he thought of what the boy might do to them in his current grieving state. It had to be his own father who confronted him. Even Mito had encouraged him to do that and keep this family matter as personal as they could without involving unwanted outsiders than they already had. He found his son solemnly standing near his wife's grave as Tobarama hesitantly approached him. What do you want? Asked Naruto tersely, before Tobarama could even say something. The Senju head tried to put a comforting hand on his shoulder only to be shunned away by a warning glance from the blonde. I'm truly sorry for everything, Naruto, apologized Tobarama sincerely, knowing that saying anything else would be insincere and would only upset his son further. It means nothing. It won't bring him back. Tobarama was taken aback by those words and it only strengthened his misgivings over what this event had done to his son. You're right. It won't, but I still mean it, he replied, making his son clench his fists painfully as he looked at his wife's grave. In this world you either young, or live long enough to see things that would break your heart, whispered Naruto sadly. Tobarama did not want to admit it, but those words struck deep in his heart as he remembered the events of his own life. His parents' when he was young, his brothers' in the subsequent conflicts of the Clan Wars era, his last and most beloved brother Hashirama alongside all his cousins in the First Great Ninja War, his nieces and nephews in the Second Great Ninja War, as did a lot of his clan members and fellow comrades and students. He could never be together with the woman he loved, one who even in death gave him something to hope for. And now he had lost his daughter-in-law and grandchild. Only now he understood the depth of his son's pain as he looked at Ino Yamanaka's grave. You gave him something to live for, a hope that was destroyed before it could fully blossom, thought Tobarama sadly. Even after all that had happened in his life, Tobarama could still hope for a future thanks to Mito, Nawaki, Tsunade and the rest of his clan. Their warmth and love surrounded him always, and his departed lover Inoue had given him a lost son for whom he had great hopes. Naruto never had that, and his hope was extinguished with the child that with the demise of his beloved wife. You're right, he could not help but admit begrudgingly, earning a rueful smile from the blonde. Ask what you came here to ask, Tobarama. The Senju head was again surprised by those cold words and the knowing look in his son's eyes. Do you want to back away from an alliance with Konoha for what Danzo and Saru did? Asked Tobarama hesitantly. Yes. Tobarama was startled by that blunt admission, yet the father inside of him was proud for the honesty displayed by his son when all he had received from this village was deceit. But the second Mizukage wishes for an alliance. I am duty-bound to uphold his wish. Words couldn't describe how relieved Tobarama felt on hearing those words said by his son begrudgingly. His relief was short-lived when Naruto looked at him sharply. Don't be mistaken. Neither Konoha or Izu deserve it, for you are just as bad as the enemies that are trying to destroy you, said Naruto scathingly, the anger burning bright in his eyes once again. Naruto, I understand serious mistakes have been made and I will ensure there are repercussions. By doing what? Reprimanding the current Hokage and his advisor in power for hiding the truth that saved your life. By trying to force the Azukage to reveal the truth about us Spartans when you and the other villagers bribed him into submission, thereby saving Hashirama and Konoha's honor while also hiding his crimes. Your people and allies would turn on you sooner than you think, reprimanded Naruto without hesitation. But, the mist is sea from the same cloth, in some ways it's even worse. But Genjutsu Hozuki is trying to change it, I can see it. He's a man of honor, which is more than what I can say for the Hokages or my own Azukage. That is the only reason you will have your alliance now, but don't assume the terms will be easy as before or this will be a long-term partnership, said Naruto fiercely. What are you saying? Asked Tobirama worriedly, knowing very well that while the blonde would obey the Mizukage's orders, it was totally in his hands to set the terms for an alliance as he was Kiri's ambassador. The cold chuckle that escaped from the blonde made a shiver run through the former Hokage's heart as Naruto walked away, but his words haunted his father for a very long time. The price of peace is not cheap, Tobirama. Kirigakure, few hours earlier. Genjutsu Hozuki dodged a horde of kunai launched at him while firing water bullets from his mouth that struck the assailant on, leading to his instant demise. The man tumbled down the stairs of the Mizukage's home, cracking the plain mask hiding his face. The Kiri leader clenched his fist when he recognized the intruder as a member of the Kaguya clan. Removing his mask, Genjutsu was further disappointed but not totally surprised when he recognized this one to be a member of the Hagoromo clan. He had known both clans had not been happy with his ascension as Mizukage, with Reika Kaguya, the head of her clan, wanting the post for herself. They had opposed many of his policies and heavily criticized him on the first failed invasion of Kumogakure, which had costed him thousands of ninja and all the members of the 7 ninja swordsmen. The front door of his house was blasted open as a dozen more intruders entered, with Reika Kaguya and Hiro Hagoromo leading the charge. I knew there was bad blood between us, but I never considered you could turn traitors to this village, said Genjutsu furiously. Traitors? We don't see anyone but you and your lackeys as one. Despite being from a noble clan, you sidelined the importance that the shinobi clans have enjoyed in this village since its foundation. You allowed commoners to lord over us, launched a failed invasion that costed us precious fighters and all the previous 7 ninja swordsmen, went as far as nominating a youngling like that Namikaze brat for the next cage position without even consulting us, and are trying to ally our nation with a losing side like the Leaf Village. You even returned Tobirama despite our opposition, said Reika bitterly, as she pointed her bone-shaped spear at him. But we're not here because of that. We are here because your transgressions have become too much. The feudal lord was most displeased with your unauthorized raid on Nagi Island without even informing him or his advisors. That is treason and we have been authorized to take appropriate action, said Lord Hiro Hagoromo frankly. Genjutsu chuckled, making the 2 clan heads look at him with deep frowns on their faces. What's so funny? Asked Reika tartly. It's funny how you two who hated the daimyo's dominance over the village are the ones who first flocked to his side when Kirigakure tried to challenge his limitless authority and do what was right for this nation. But I guess, the lure of power corrupts anyone, said Genjutsu mercilessly. He was satisfied when both the clan heads flinched at that accusation but didn't lower the weapons they had aimed at their cage. You crossed a line when you ordered the attack on Nagi Island. If Kirigakure is to be spared from the daimyo's wrath, then we must present you in the daimyo's court for judgment, or should you resist, warned Lord Hagoromo adamantly. You think I'll give up so easily? Roared Genjutsu, righteous anger now burning in his eyes as his intent flared. His eyes widened when he felt dark spots in his vision and all strength vanish from his legs as he fell to his knees. He saw Reika Kaguya grasping the coffee cup at his dinner table and giving him a knowing smile. We poisoned most of your food. Don't worry, it's not lethal enough to kill you just yet, and we have an antidote to keep you alive until the daimyo sees you, she added with a wry smirk. Impossible, the Anbu, check, everything, denied Genjutsu, as he looked at one of the said Black Ops lying on his floor who had given his life protecting the Mizukage. Not when we have their families hostage. Don't worry, they paid for betraying you with their said Reika with a cold smile. She was taken aback when Genjutsu got back on his feet and looked at her. The intent launched by the man once more, bringing most of her warriors down to their knees in fear. You will pay for this. promised genjutsu, and was impressed when the two clan heads managed to resist his power. There are thousands of soldiers sent by the daimyo surrounding our village at this moment, genjutsu. More than that, our two clans have surrounded your clan's district. Resist and all that is dear to you shall reduce to ashes. Warned Reika, her tone urging the Mizukage to see reason. The said man extended his senses fully and grimaced when he felt hundreds of chakra signatures surrounding the Hozuki clan district. They were well hidden and not easy to detect unless one had acute sensory skills, meaning these were the most lethal K from the Kaguya and Hagoromo clans. He also felt many unknown signatures at the far outskirts of the village's boundary, lending merit to threat that Reika Kaguya had just given him. Thousands of people need not s tonight if you do the right thing, suggested Lord Hiro Hagoromo. Genjutsu grimaced as his body tried to fight off the poison trying to bring him down. All the years he had spent developing immunity against a variety of such weapons was the only thing making him being able to fight. However, the dilemma before him was not of his own survival, but that of his people. A change is coming, Reika and Hiro. I can see it, and neither I, or you both and the daimyo can stop this revolution, said Genjutsu with determination burning in his eyes. Your son shall be taken into protective custody as soon as he returns. If you plead guilty, the daimyo is prepared to spare his life alongside your clan. Your successor, however, is a problem and will be dealt with appropriately, as will the 501st should they choose to rebel against our feudal lord, stated Reika seriously. She was quite surprised when her words made a soft chuckle escape from the second Mizukage's lips as the older man gave her a patronizing glare. The whole tree will not even if a few branches fall. You may us, imprison our families, our comrades, but you will never be able to quench the revolution that we have started. Our will has been passed on in the hearts of our people, and it shall one day engulf this nation's corrupt leadership and its barbaric traditions, promised Genjutsu fiercely. Enough. Surrender or watch Kirigakure envelop in the rebellion that you started, threatened Reika with a finality present in her dark tone. Genjutsu grimaced as once again he was left with an impossible choice that would decide the fate of his nation. Madara Uchiha calmly sat upon one of the hills within Kirigakure. A curious smile was etched upon his lips as he watched the activity silently happening within the village in the darkness of the night. It didn't take long to make them dance, he said with a dark chuckle. He had to give Zetsu's the due credit, for it was one of the creature's lackeys that planted false evidence of the 501st, led by Naruto, destroying the pirates on Nagi Island, enjoying the daimyo's protection. Naruto and his men had been thorough in erasing any evidence, including the B of their fallen comrades, yet the daimyo had believed the false evidence planted by the Zetsus when one of his advisors received report of the attack from nearby villages a day later, many of whom were under Madara's genjutsu to relay exactly what the daimyo wanted to hear. The rest was history as he watched the two rebellious clans enter the Mizukage's personal residence. The water daimyo had shown quite some shrewdness for a civilian when he asked the Kaguya and Hagoromo clans to secretly deal with the current Mizukage who was challenging his authority over the land of water. Of course, the feudal lord had also sent his forces as backup and also to serve as a warning should both clans have any second thoughts. Truly, a world of lies and deceit, whispered Madara with a smile, knowing he had played his own part in its misery with his own deception. But that was the price for peace. Hashirama, soon I shall destroy this false world that you created and begin a new chapter for mankind. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.